the fiscal year, this is what they call it, that particular year.
Okay.
The year in review.
Good evening, this is our
council meeting for March the 24th, 2025. I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. We'll begin with the invocation from Mrs. Councilwoman Ida Casements.
Good evening, how y'all doing? First of all, I want to thank each and everyone for coming out, and Lord, I ask you to bless this meeting, let this meeting not be of confusion, but be of peace, love, joy, and happiness. And let us be able to come together to make this a successful meeting. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Need approval for consent for the agenda for tonight.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we got approval for our agenda tonight. New business, we have a presentation of the fiscal year 2023-2024 audit for J.B. Watson. Good evening.
How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to audit the town of Wadsworth. This is my hometown through marriage, and I like working with the management here and the people here. It's a great community. I'm going to be long-winded as usual, so I just apologize up front. There are things I am required by state law to go over with you, and so this can't be real brief. In the past, I've roadmapped you through these financial statements to make sure you understand what you're looking at. I think we're beyond that now, and it would take a long amount of time, and I know you want to get onto your 25-26 budget, so I'm going to hit some highlights, but I still am going to be long with you, so I just want to apologize. Please interrupt me at any point. I don't mind at all. As you know, we'll flip through these in order. The independent auditor's report is after the table of contents. It is on our letterhead. It is what's referred to as an unmodified opinion, which means it's a clean opinion. So based upon our audit procedures and your representations, it is our opinion that these financial statements are materially correct. On the last page, the third page of the auditor's report, you will see the last paragraph says other reporting required by government auditing standards. And I just want to remind you that there are like 3 tiers of an audit. The first one is one in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards. Then if you spend more than $100,000 in grant money, you have to have an audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And then if you spend more than another level of money for federal and state grants, you have what's referred to as a single audit. You did, of course, spend more than $100,000 on grant money, so you had to have an audit in accordance with government auditing standards and also a single audit. That just means we look at a few more internal controls, we look at grant compliance, and that's explained to you here in the audit report and also in a separate letter. If you will flip past the management's discussion and analysis to Exhibit 1. I apologize to you in the audience, you don't get to see this fine report. I mean, it's public record, but you don't have it to look at right now. I'm not going to go over this in detail. I want to point out to you the things that are different from last year to this year. You don't have those financial statements in front of you, so I just want to give you a few things that jumped out at us as we were comparing one year to the next. If you go all the way down to the bottom of Exhibit 1, page 1, you will see your unrestricted governmental net positions. So governmental is your general fund and any special revenue and general capital project funds. That unrestricted amount is a negative 2.8, almost 2.9 million. That, while it's a negative number, is up about $811,000 in the positive from the previous year. You'll also see your business type activities, that second column, the unrestricted amount there. While it's around 2.8 million, it's about $2 million less than the previous year, and I don't want you to be alarmed about that. I just want to remind you, at June 2023, you had just received the bond anticipation notes for the USDA sewer project. And now you've spent that money. So that 2.2 million has been spent out of those business type activities. And there's a reason for that. So don't be alarmed if you see a change from the prior year to the current year. And when I say current year, I'm living in past history, so this is, let me remind you, June 30, 2024. You're living in June 30, 2025, and you get ready to discuss the budget for June 30, 2026. So just remember, this is the 23-24 fiscal year that we're referring to here. In that third column, you'll see the unrestricted net position is a negative amount of around $73,000. And we'll discuss that a little bit later when we discuss the management letter. The second page, that odd landscape page, and I will remind you, the front is all in summary, all the details are in the back. I just want to point out a couple of things on this page. Your water and sewer expenditures in that first column, they're up about $1 million from the previous year, and there are reasons for that. Your charges for water sewer are up about 3% from the previous year. And if you go down all the way to the bottom, over towards the middle of the page, change in net position, you'll see you had a positive change in net position for both governmental activities and your business type activities. The governmental increased about $900,000 more than the previous year. So while it was positive, it was also still an improvement over the prior year. And we're not going to discuss every page, I promise. Exhibit 3-1 on page 3, I just want to point out a couple of things here. The first column is just the general fund. The second column is the ARP Capital Project Fund, the American Rescue Plan money, the COVID money. It's also called coronavirus, state and local fiscal recovery. You'll hear it called a bunch of different things. All your ARPA money was spent last year for revenue replacement, so that's why they're all zeros in that column. Your general fund, your cash did increase about $745,000. You will see your unassigned fund balance that is towards the bottom of that first column. It's up about $1 million from the previous year, but remember, you transferred $1.5 million of the ARPA money out of the project fund into the general fund for revenue replacement. So that's why that increase is there. It will skip over to page 5, exhibit 4-1. This is in summary form, your revenues and expenses for just your governmental funds, your general fund, your ARPA fund, and then your non-major funds. When we were comparing years, we noticed an increase of about 5% in revenues, an increase of about 2% in expenditures. And I did just want to explain to you down at the bottom, under the other financing sources and uses, your issuance of long-term debt, that $120,000, those are installment purchases financed through Axon at 0% for some police equipment. And then the lease liabilities issued, you only had one vehicle last year, new lease, that was the brush truck, and then there were some copier leases in that, so that's what's included in those amounts. If you flip to page 7, exhibit 5, so this is just your general fund. It doesn't include any project funds, doesn't include the water sewer fund, it's just the general fund. The purpose that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board has for this work paper or this financial statement is to show you your original budget, your final budget, your actual, and any variance. The only thing I'd point out on this one is that down at the very bottom, I keep looking on the page, your appropriated fund balance. That is what you approved in your budget to spend out of savings if needed. So you approved to spend approximately $420,000. If you go to that third column, you'll see the change in fund balance of $1.1 million, $1,162,000. You did not use any fund balance. You actually added to fund balance last year for the general fund by that $1.1 million. I do want to remind you, though, that includes the $1.5 million of the ARPA money, the grant money. So without that, if you took that ARPA money out, you would have used about $345,000 of fund balance for your general fund. We need to get Mr. Parsons called up. You got it? Okay. Exhibit 6, 7, and 8 on the following pages are the water sewer fund. This is the water sewer fund and all water sewer capital projects. Your cash went up about 10% from the previous year. Your property and equipment or capital assets went up about 20%. That's mostly funded with your grants, your infrastructure that you're paying for in USDA grants and ARPA money. I will point out, there's something new on this that you've not had in the past. Down under net position, you have restricted for debt service. Several years ago, you completed the USDA water project, and you have revenue bonds for that project. There are bond certain amount for debt service. This is the first year that was required for those bonds. So you have set up this $19,000 that's restricted for debt service. This is required by the bonds. It's in your restricted cash, it's in your restricted net position, and then this amount will grow a little bit each year. It will be funded a little bit each year. Exhibit 7 are your revenues and expenses for your water and sewer fund and your water and sewer capital projects. I would point out, you have operating income. Sometimes you had operating loss. Some of our other units have operating loss, but you do have operating income there about the middle of the page. The previous year it was around $500,000. This year it was around $35,000. So there has been a decrease in that. Your interest and fees, if you're comparing one year to the next, that's interest expense, not interest income. It's gone up to about $140,000, and that's because you're having to accrue interest on those revenue bonds and the bond anticipation notes for your USDA water and sewer projects. That capital contributions amount down at the bottom, the $1.3 million, those are your grant revenues from the different water sewer grant projects. So that $1.3 million is made up of your grant revenues from your sewer rehab project, your USDA sewer project, industrial park project, and the ARPA money. We've got 3 ARPA grants that are in that new fund for water and sewer improvements. Exhibit 8 is your cash flow statement. Again, this is just water and sewer fund and water and sewer capital project funds. You'll see that you had net cash provided by operating activities. You'll see in the middle of the page, acquisition and construction of capital assets from 2.6, 2.7 million. Here, that's similar to prior years, and that's also funded mostly with grants. You'll see you had a net decrease in cash and cash equivalents, but remember, you had that 2.1 million in bond anticipation notes that you got in June 2023. You spent it in fiscal year 23-24. So that's why there's such a large decrease there. Without the bond anticipation notes, if you took that out, because that's kind of an anomaly, you would have had a positive, you would have had an increase in cash equivalents of around $390,000. I'm kind of like a broken record with these bond anticipation notes. Your notes begin on page 12. Page 12 through 20 are your significant accounting policies. You did not adopt any new accounting policies. You do have a new fund this year for water and sewer improvements. You did adopt a change to your budget control level, and that is disclosed on page 15. Back in June of 2024, when you did your budget amendment, you voted to change from a line item budgetary control level to the project fund level. And so that is noted here on page 15. Okay. Also on page 16, where we disclose your restricted cash, you'll see the 2 new line items for the USDA debt service that are included in restricted cash and in that restricted net position that we talked about earlier. You'll see on page 18 that you did disperse all your ARPA money. It's called pandemic-related expenditures. All that money is spent and the grantor requirement has been met. At the bottom of page 19, you'll see a description for that new restricted for debt service we talked about. On page 21, as I've told you in the past, local units in the state of North Carolina, note 1 gives you all your significant accounting policies. Note 2 is where you'll see if you have any amounts over budget, any deficit fund balance, any violation of North Carolina general statutes that relate to fiscal control and budget and financial reporting. There are 2 things here this year. One is a deficit fund balance for the Wafer Industrial Park Infrastructure Fund, and that just happens because it's a reimbursement-based grant. So you expend the money and then you wait for the state to reimburse you. It's not that it won't be reimbursed, there's just that time lag there, but you are required to disclose that deficit fund balance if you have one. The second note is you had 3 areas where you were over budget. One was in the general fund for admin, and one for police, and then also in the water sewer fund for sewer operations. And when we got to looking at this with everyone, it looks like the admin over budget amount was caused by approved payroll at the end of the year. The police department dealt with those installment purchases from Axon. I think that weren't budgeted correctly at the end of the year because they were still waiting on some information. And sewer department, there were some invoices that came in late, actually even while we were here doing the audit in September, that threw you over budget for the sewer department. So we encourage you to work on that and making sure everything's included. Page 22, the allowance for doubtful accounts. This is the amount that you think might be uncollectible. You record all your utility billing at gross, and then you have this allowance for doubtful accounts. That has gone up about 37%. The detail for your capital assets are on the following pages. Page 25, you will see construction commitments. These contracts or commitments you entered into as of June 30, 24, that aren't, the work had not been performed, it had not been invoiced, it's not included in accounts payable at year-end, but you had committed the town to these amounts. That is around 3.9 million, and about 2.5 million from the previous year, because you have more grant projects going on, and also you've got the fire engine purchase in there also as a commitment. Pages 26 through 39, you only need to read when you are suffering from insomnia. They deal with pension liability, OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, also known as your retiree insurance plan. These are required disclosures, that it's actuary information, it's called the dry information, you're required to have it in here, and it's in here, but we're gonna skip it for tonight. On page 41, you'll see other commitments the town had at year-end that are not construction related. These are not new, there are no new commitments in here, it's just continuing to disclose ones you have had carryover from previous years. On page 43 is where your disclosures start on all your long-term obligations. So this includes your leases for your vehicles and copiers and things like that, your installment purchases, your bonds, whether they're revenue bonds or bond anticipation notes. You will see on page 44, just a little beneath the middle of the page, your bond anticipation notes of 2.2 million, 2,189,000. They mature September 18th. You did refinance those by issuing revenue bonds on September 16th, and so that's disclosed here. On the bottom of page 45, you'll see you met your debt service coverage ratio. A summary of all your long-term debt is on page 46, showing you increases and decreases and what's due in the coming year. And then there are two new notes at the very end of the notes on page 49. The restatements note at note 8 and the subsequent events note at note 9. There were a couple of items from the previous year that just needed to be reclassed, restated. One dealt with your USDA sewer project. The town determined that some line items were not coded properly in the I shouldn't say not coded properly. It may have been charged to engineering and it should have been to construction and things like that. And so they cleaned up how it was coded from the previous year, and that's in a restatement. So when you look at Exhibit C-5 in the back, the prior year amounts have been corrected to line things up the way they should be. Nothing was done wrong, it was just, it got coded differently than say the grantor thought or the engineer thought. The total dollars are all right. The other restatement dealt with your water AIA grant from the previous year. The town received a water system AIA grant. It was budgeted and accounted for in your water sewer fund. In this year, management decided, because this is continuing over years, we want this in a project fund, not in the water sewer fund. So it was added to your water system improvements capital project fund, which is on Exhibit C-7 if you want to note that. That includes this previous water AIA grant and two more grants you got this year. So when you look at Exhibit C-7, you'll see prior year amounts in there, and that all dealt with stuff that was recorded in the water sewer fund last year. And then subsequent events, if you have anything that happens that you think is kind of significant after June 30th, but before the financial statements are issued, you disclose it in this subsequent events note. So one is the refinancing of those bond anticipation notes. One is the interlocal agreement with Anson County to provide police assistance for a period of time. And one is the interlocal agreement with Anson County to continue collecting your ad valorem taxes with the collection fee of 5%. And then the next section is the insomnia section. This is more actuary information on your pension and your OPEB. And then your detailed schedules begin on page 56. And this is just budget versus actual and variance, line item by line item for every fund of the town. I'm not gonna go over those with you. I do want to go over just a couple of them, because they're gonna be mentioned in the management letter, which we're gonna go over next. If y'all will look at page 62, this is the Wadesboro Park project. So in our management letter in previous years, and again this year, there are some kind of dormant project funds that we want you, or we recommend you complete or you close out. I've already met with Wiley and Maureen about that, and I think they're planning on bringing suggestions to you about what to do with these funds. I just want to give you a visual image of these funds so you know what they're talking about when they come back to you. One is the Wadesboro Park project. It has almost 17,000 in it. This project has been complete for years. Our recommendation is you close this fund and you move that money to the general fund for park expenditures. On page 63 is the downtown revitalization project. Again, this is a fund that's been sitting here for a while with little activity. It's got 41,000 in it. This was originally the Department of Commerce grant to purchase the town square and revitalize it, and to do the town clock. And you've completed the clock portion, you run into some delays with the square portion of it. Our recommendation is, just finish this as soon as you can. All grants have a period of availability. The period of availability has passed on this grant. I mean, you got the money, but the state's just not usually any more extension on it. They're not saying you've got to send the money back. It's just good business to go ahead and finish this project up as quickly as you can. The next page is the Wadesboro Greenway project. This is a project we got years ago that's funded through Carolina Thread Trail. You're working on the easement phase right now, and our recommendation is, to complete these easements as you can, and I know that's not easy, and then get back in touch with Carolina Thread Trail for the next phase. So the first part was design, and then easements, and then construction. So we just encourage you to finish this project. The next page is the radio upgrade capital project fund. It has about $4,400 in it. This project was initially to upgrade your radios for fire and police. That has been done. So we recommend this money be moved back to the general fund for any other public safety equipment purchases you might need. It just makes it easier on your accounting staff to not have so many funds. And then the last one is page 73. This is the Uptown Wadesboro water line, Lennox Drive sewer line. The water line project was completed years ago. The Lennox Drive sewer project was never funded by the state. It's just been sitting here paying bank fees. You've paid over $6,500 in bank fees since 2014. Now, your staff has closed that bank account, put it in with your Truist or whomever bank account, so you can stop the bank fees. But our recommendation is go ahead and close this fund, move this money to the water sewer fund. So that just gives you a picture of some of these. And then
And you said that was from 2014 that we've been paying that $6,500.
Yeah, in total, not every year.
Yeah, I just want that to be clear.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
way back when, grantor agencies preferred you put grant money in a separate bank account. And so your grant administrator would recommend a bank account, you'd set up this bank account, and everything that related to that grant would go through that one bank account. They've now kind of gotten past that and say you can put all your money in one bank account as long as you have a strong accounting system to show what you spent of that grant money. So that's how this one ended up in its own little bank account. But it has been moved to your general account now, I think. But we just recommend you transfer that money to the water sewer fund and close this fund. The bank account has been closed, that was separate. And you put in all those costs.
Danielle, I'm
Yes,
sorry, just for clarification, there's 5 funds that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and they're all in the management letter, so I'll show you them. If you'll flip to page 79 and 80, these are the schedules that relate to your taxes. Page 79 are the 10 years that are outstanding. Page 80 is just the levy year, the 23-24 levy year. The only thing a couple of things I point out here. Your valuation and your levy both went up about 1%. I've seen that increase a whole lot higher in some of our other units, but there was an increase, so that that is good. Your unpaid taxes down at the bottom, well, not total bottom, 222,000. That is just for the levy year. That's not all 10 years that are outstanding. That's just the most recent levy year. You had uncollected taxes of 222,000. That's about 25% higher than the previous year. And then at the very bottom, you'll see your current levy collection percentage. Your overall collection rate is 89.15%. The previous year, it was 91.52%, so it's going down about 2.3%.
Danielle, can you tell them what is the norm in the state collection rate?
Yes, that's on a separate page,
Okay.
but it's, I can tell you right now. For units your size, it is 98.56%.
Wow. So folks, that's significant,
That is
right? 98%, we're at 89%.
And it's declining, and you'll see that on a separate page that's in your packet that you got at the last meeting.
That means your tax dollars are not in use, but they should be, because we're not collecting them.
Yeah, I'm just wrong.
Say that again, sir?
Your tax dollars are not in use because we're not collecting them. So we're at the lowest collection rate in the state of North Carolina. We're the lowest.
And there are different factors.
There are.
It can be the tax rate, it can be the tax valuation, it can be the demographics of the county, it can be who's collecting the taxes. There are a lot of pieces to that puzzle to work through. But you're right, it needs to come up.
And we pay the county to collect our taxes for us, right? So we're working with them to get this up. It has to go up.
On page 81, this is a supplemental schedule that is not required of all local units, but it is required of you because you have USDA grants and USDA funding. They require you to report your water and sewer operations separately. So we pull out a column for water and we pull out a column for sewer. You will see, middle of the page, water has an operating loss for the year 23-24, and sewer has an operating income. The sewer income the previous year, though, was around 653,000, so while you have income, it has decreased some. The operating loss for the previous year for water was 140,000, so it's gone up a little bit more. And I didn't point this out earlier, that disposal of capital assets at 313,000, that includes a write-off of the city pond aeration system, so it's larger than in previous years. The aeration system has not been used for a while, and it needed to be written off and taken off the books, so that's why that number looks large there. The next section is your compliance section. There are 3 reports here, or 3 opinions. We have to opine on a couple of things for you. The first letter is because you spend more than $100,000 in grant money. Because of that, we have to look at internal controls over your financial reporting and report anything to you that is considered a finding. I hate that Fred Davis is not here today because he would get upset about this, but as always, you have a lack of segregation of duties. That's gonna happen for the town of Wadesboro with your staff and the way your controls work. It's not per se you've done anything wrong. It's if we didn't report it, the state would think we were doing something wrong. But Fred always asks me questions about that every year, so this is for Fred. You have lack of segregation of duties this year. Is he on the phone?
He's on the phone, he's here.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah,
Is that all good yet?
I heard it, but I'm gonna drink some time to get back.
What we always recommend is you've got to look at what controls are cost feasible. What makes sense for you so that you can mitigate any risk you identify because of the lack of segregation of duties. And that's just simply one person shouldn't be able to order a part, pay for the part, do the accounting for the part purchase, do the bank reconciliation, and you don't have anything that extreme, but it's to try to separate as many duties as possible in the accounting of items for the town. The next letter deals with federal grants. So if you spend more than $750,000 in total of federal grant money, we're required to look at internal controls over those grants, look at compliance with those grant requirements, and we look at major programs. The 2 major programs this year for Wadesboro were the USDA sewer project and that ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan Act money. We did not have any findings for those. The next letter is for your state grant. So if you spend and then state grant money. Again, we have to look at internal controls over the financial reporting in that grant and also grant compliance for those grants. Your major grant, state grant this year was the industrial park, and we did not have any findings for that. If you will look at page 91, this is the mayor's favorite page. This is where the finding is iterated for the lack of segregation of duties. Page 92 is your formal response to that finding. And then page 93, you are required to give a kind of a status update on your prior year audit findings. So the first one is the lack of segregation of duties and what you're doing about that. You did add that you have separated some duties between town manager and finance officer. In the past, that was one person, and now you have a town manager and a finance officer, so that's included here in this corrective action plan. And then also last year, your amounts over budget, we felt were raised to the level of a material weakness. There was just some budgeting issues, and so we reported that as an audit finding last year, not just a disclosure in note 2. And so your response here is how you handle that in fiscal year 23-24. That is here on page 93. And then the very last two pages are your grant schedule. This is where you spent your federal and state grant dollars. If you're like me, you don't know what all these formal names are and what department they came from, so I just want to run through it real fast for you so you'll know what everything is. The first one there from USDA, that's your USDA sewer project that you spent $2.12 million. That's your bond anticipation proceeds spent there. The next one from U.S. Department of Justice, the $4,000, those are your bulletproof vest program. The U.S. Department of Transportation, Highway Planning, Research and Construction Cluster, that's the Burn Street Bridge. The Department of Treasury, the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, that $1.5 million, that's that ARPA money we keep talking about, that you transfer from that project to the general fund for revenue replacement. The next three grants listed under there, these are your ARPA money. It's federal ARPA money coming through the Department of Environmental Quality, and those are your water and sewer improvement grants you've been awarded the last few years. Under the state grants, the North Carolina Department of Commerce, that is your industrial park, the $378,000. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality is your Burn Street Sewer Rehab Project. Your Powell Wheel, as you know, is your streets and sidewalks. And then the bottom one is your only new grant this year, and that's from the Office of State Budget and Management, and that's for the splash pad. That is a quick run through the financial statements. Do y'all have any questions about the financial statements before we move to some of the letters? Okay. We have four more things together that we're not going to promise you. You have two letters filed separately in the back of your financial statement. Hopefully the one on top is the 5-page letter. This is what's referred to as a management letter. These are items that aren't material weaknesses, they're not significant deficiencies, they're not really considered audit findings, they're just recommendations we've observed. And I'll try to let you know the ones that have been mentioned to you in previous years. The first, and we won't go over all of them in detail, the first two, the deficit fund balance, I'm on page 2, and the excess of expenditures over appropriations, these are disclosed in note 2. We just reiterate them here and go into a little bit more detail for you. The third one, financial reports to council. We have reported this to you in the past, and I think y'all are already working on improving this. And we want to make sure that you, the council, get detailed budget versus actual results every month in every agenda packet, and that they don't just include the general fund and the water sewer fund, they include your project funds. And I think that's what y'all are now getting. But this report is as of June 30th. And so this was a finding in the past, and we reported it again here with some recommendations.
As of now, they're getting it every meeting. That's correct.
Perfect. The next one is time of bank reconciliation. We noticed where some bank reconciliations were completed late in the 23-24 fiscal year, and we recommend that those be completed monthly, and that someone review them, and that review is documented. The next one is your grant accounting and reporting. You expended around $5.5 million in federal and state grants last year. That's a lot of grant money, and we had to spend a lot of time in the course of the audit to figure out Where did that money come from? What's the grant money? Is it federal or state? Was there something that needed to be accrued at the end of the year as far as money coming in and money going out? An inordinate amount of time was spent dealing with that grant accounting. Our recommendation is you assign responsibilities to finance, your manager, to department head, to whomever, to make sure that all this information is captured and where it needs to be, and they can just hand it to us when we come in with the audit. Plus, you need that because you're having to do reports to grantor agencies. And so that's just a recommendation that we noticed this year more so than any other year. On page 3, the top 2 comments, we've commented on these in previous years, and we're just reiterating them again. The first one is the Anson County Tax Collector Settlement Report. By state law, your tax collector is required to provide you with a settlement report this year. I don't think you're getting that from the county. The audit was delayed as we waited on the information from the county for your taxes. We found out in the course of multiple emails and meetings between Molly and Maureen and myself and the county that there was a second billing or a second tax roll during the year that I don't think the town was given a copy of. It was for about $53,000. There was also around $46,000 of downward adjustments where they wrote off taxes for about a 9-year span, and the town won't really have any detail on the information. So we just encourage y'all to continue the dialogue in the meetings with the county that you get this information that you need, the detail that you need, so you can make educated decisions. The second comment there deals with the estimated tax collection rate. For fiscal year 23-24, and we think for 24-25, what you budgeted for tax collections was more than you're legally supposed to. There's a very convoluted, complicated calculation of how much you can put in your budget for property tax collection. And it has to be based on the cash you received from the previous year. I am not going to tell you you did it right or you did it wrong. It appeared to be overstated. We met with the interim manager at the beginning of 23-24. He agreed and y'all amended your budget. You corrected it for 23-24. It may be the same way for 24-25.
I corrected.
Yeah, I think I've already corrected that. Some of it dealt with the reports you're getting from the county, some of it dealt with the collection percentage going down, and you didn't know it had gone down at that point when you adopted the budget. But we just encourage you to pay close attention to what you're budgeting, and I know you're working on 25-26, what you're budgeting for ad valorem taxes. So those recommendations are there. The next comment is negative unrestricted net position, which we talked about when we looked at Exhibit 1. You had overall negative unrestricted net position of around $73,000. That can be an indication that there's stress on the unit to meet long-term obligations. It's not necessarily that, but it can be. So I look back at previous years. In 2021, it was around a negative $1.7 million. In 2022, it was around a negative $830,000. 2023, it was positive, but it was those bond anticipation notes that you collected right at the end of June. And then this year, it's a negative $73,000. So you're trending in the right direction. I just want to make sure you're aware. You really don't want that number to be negative. You want it to be positive to make sure you can meet your long-term obligations. The bottom comment you've had in the past, for the past 6 years, your audit and your AFR, your annual financial information report, have been submitted to the state late. By state law, they're due October 31st. You have a grace period to December 1st. The state realized that's kind of unattainable for a lot of units. So thank goodness, they have extended it now to December 31st. So your June 30, 25 audit will need to be submitted to the state by December 31st, 2025, which is much more reasonable, we think. A lot of audit firms think that. But I still want you to have an emphasis to get your audit done on time and get it to the state on time. There are reasons for it to be late, lots of years, and the state understands that, we understand that, but we just need to make sure you're aware that it's been late these years and that you're working on it.
Danielle, question on that? The audit is due December 31st, but the AFR is still due October.
Yes, the AFR is still due
You
October.
can't do the AFR without finishing the audit.
Exactly.
So,
And the state is aware
There's no
of that
benefit.
disconnect. Yeah, the state's very aware of that. Audit firms have been complaining, units have been complaining, yeah.
maybe they'll change it.
I don't know.
Page 4, we've already talked about, so we can skip most of this. The top of page 4 is those 5 different funds that we recommend you close or you complete, and you kind of move that money around where it can be more beneficial to the town rather than putting it in a dormant project fund. The bottom, this is just a personal recommendation from our firm. I talked to the North Carolina League of Municipalities, I talked to some people at the local government commission. You have changed your budgetary level of control on your project to the project level, not to the line item. That's acceptable, that is okay. You can do your project budgets that way, you can report them in the financial statement that way, but you kind of lose some of the detail that you have with line items. Our recommendation is at least internally, you still adopt project ordinance by line item, you still report them internally by line item. Sometimes grantor agencies require you to keep up with things by line item. Some grantor agencies don't care, so I know Wiley and Maureen can advise you on that, but our recommendation is just to continue to keep up with as much detail as you think is necessary for each of these project plans. One more page of financial line. The top of the next page, page 5, is investment of idle funds. We noticed when we were auditing cash here, you had a significant amount of cash on deposit in non-interest bearing bank accounts, and y'all have already dealt with that. Maureen's already moved like, I don't know, $2 million or whatever into North Carolina Cash Management. You have invested that money. As soon as we talked about it, she moved it. But always keep a good eye on what money's in non-interest bearing cash accounts and what's in interest bearing cash accounts. Have you got it invested with North Carolina Cash Management or appropriate allowable investments within the state of North Carolina so you can improve your investment income? The next one, Maureen and I've also talked about, is budgeting for your debt service. Your payments to, say, Enterprise Fleet Management, your debt service payments, your lease payments, you want to make sure they're budgeted in debt service. They're not budgeted in professional fees or contracted services or capital outlay, just so you have a better picture of what your debt service obligations are. The next one is already taken care of also. This was fidelity bonding. As you know, you're required to have fidelity bonds on your finance officer, your manager, your tax collector. You've had all those bonds during the year. The effective dates got wonky, to use a technical term. You had the right people covered, you had the right dollar amounts for the coverage, but some of the effective dates were wrong, and when we audited it, we noticed that. The town immediately started working with the insurance company and got all of that corrected. But just, I want y'all to be aware to be careful with those dates as well as the dollar amounts, unfortunately.
They were able to backdate that, right, to
Yes.
cover them at the right time without
Yes,
penalty?
yes,
Okay.
that fixed all that.
The insurance company gets all that. The next comment is about your credit card statements. This has been a comment for several years about late fees on credit cards. It's improving each year. I just want y'all to still be aware of the timing of approving invoices and credit card statements to avoid late fees. And then the last one is just a general, constantly be looking at your internal controls, your procedures. Is it feasible what you're doing? Is it accomplishing what you want it to do? Are reconciliations being performed timely? Is someone reviewing them? Are all timesheets being reviewed? Not just employees, but department heads, town manager, council, you just always want to make sure that you're reviewing everything so you can answer the public carefully about things, that we are doing this, we are taking care of your tax dollars. That is it for the management letter, unless y'all have any questions. The next letter is referred to as a governance letter. There are a couple of things we're required to disclose to you. I've talked about most of them already, but we have to get into you in writing. The first paragraph says that we audited you in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and the uniform guidance, which is the single audit. We have to let you know if there are any new accounting policies adopted in the year we're auditing, and there were no new accounting policies. I'll go ahead and forewarn you, next year there will be a new accounting policy for accrued vacation pay.
how you keep up with vacation hours, PTO, comp time, whatever you call it, sick pay. There will be new accounting for that, so that will be something in the letter next year. We're required to disclose to you what we consider the significant estimates in your financial statements. We think those are the allowance for doubtful accounts, your depreciation, the accounts related to your lease liabilities, and then all the accounts related to your pension liability and your retiree insurance. Those are significant estimates. We have to let you know if we had difficulties performing the audit, if we had disagreements with management, we communicate that with you throughout the course of the audit. This is the formal communication. We did have delays in receiving information from the town, from the county, from the people who did your lease accounting, so there were delays in completing the audit. There were no disagreements with management though. And then if there are any items that we think should be considered as adjustments to your financial statement, that either you or we think they're just not material. There's no reason to account for this way. They're in that schedule, that's that last page of this letter. And that's your estimated allowance for uncollected taxes, any prepaid portion of your fidelity bonds, and then the accounting for subscriptions. Greg Isley's firm analyzed your subscription-based IT agreements, and they, the town, and we agree it's just not material enough to change how you're accounting for it to the new accounting standard for that. But it's all disclosed here for you to look at, and we have to accumulate it all on one page to see if we amass these all together, do they add up to something that would make the financial statements materially incorrect? And they do not, but that's all disclosed for you here in this section. And we have two more things here. This colorful spreadsheet that you have, this started a couple of years ago. When we submit your audit to LGC, the Local Government Commission, they have an Excel spreadsheet called a data input workbook, and we have to take information from your audited financial statements, input it into this Excel spreadsheet, and it creates this work paper for you. We are required to go over this with you in a public meeting. It's a new requirement a few years ago. These are what the Local Government Commission considers financial performance indicators that you should look at. If it's a financial performance indicator of concern, or they call it FPIC, in this unit results column, it'll be shaded red. With our printer, it looks a little pink, but it's a red cell. On the first page, and we talk about this every year, one of the main things they look at for all local units is your fund balance available as a percentage of your general fund expenditures. This is just the general fund, no other fund. The minimum threshold for the state is 34%, which means it would cover about 4 months cash flow in the event of an emergency. Your unit results were 49.83%. So you've met that minimum threshold, but I warn all our units, you don't want to just meet the minimum, you want to do better. You want to be trending upward. And I will tell you, the last handout we're going to go over has slightly different amounts. This amount on this spreadsheet is excluding Powell bills, so it pulls out all your Powell bill money for streets and sidewalks. But you still met the requirement. On the second page, it asks, if you appropriated fund balance in the previous year, and if you had a negative total fund balance at the end of the year, that would be an issue, but yours was not. You had positive total fund balance. If your general fund balance is less than 0, it would be an issue, but your total fund balance for general fund was at 4.3 million, so you're okay. Page 3 deals with water and sewer financial ratios that the state looks at, and you're fine on all of these. I would just point out on that top one with the colorful graph, it is declining, but you're still meeting the minimum threshold that the state recommends. You can totally skip page 4 because that's for units that sell electricity, and you don't do that. Page 5, we do have some red shaded cells here we need to talk about. The first one is that your audit report is late, which you know. The next one deals with your budgeting of your ad valorem taxes, and they have a minimum threshold here that they want to make sure you're not really over budgeting, and you didn't to the point that this was an issue because you amended your budget, so it's not an issue. The next one is if you think there will be a decrease in your property value, you had an increase, you anticipate an increase in the next reval, so that's not an issue. Number 15, did your audit disclose any budget violations at the adopted ordinance level? And you did have some. Those are disclosed in note 2 and in the management letter, so you'll need to address that. The last two are fine. Did you have a board appointed finance officer? Was that finance officer bonded? Those are good. The top of page 6, did you have any issues paying your debt service requirements? You did not. Pretty good there. Question 20 doesn't apply to you. That's for unit of electricity. Question 21, and the last one on this report is, was there anything that your auditor reported to you that you need to respond to LGC about? And there are 4 things we pulled out. I talked with Wiley and Maureen about this, and I'll tell you, the 4 things that we think are the most significant in the management letter are the bank reconciliations, the reports to council, which you've already corrected, the estimated tax collection rate and the decline in the tax collection rate, and then the negative unrestricted net position. So the items shaded in red and these 4 items, you will need to prepare a formal written response to the state. It has to be on town letterhead, has to be presented at a public meeting, has to be approved by a majority of the board, signed by a majority of the board, the manager, and the finance officer, and submitted to the state within 60 days of today,
Okay.
which y'all done that before.
What was that last one? Sorry, I got the.
No, you're good. Negative unrestricted net position. And they want your response to be detailed enough. It's almost like, we're aware of the problem, this is the problem, this is what we're doing to address it. And it's kind of a moving target. And the last thing I have, and I'm not gonna go over it with you much, this is what I give you every year. It's just a 1-page summary of the last 4 years, June 30, 24, 23, 22, and 21. So you can see how you, the town, have done the last 4 years, if there are any trends, if there are declines, increases. And then the gray shaded area is units comparable to you. The state used to group these by population. As I told you a couple of years ago, they now group it by dollars. So this is, if you're a unit that has $1 million to $10 million in general fund expenditures, you're down Waynesboro. And they're, the units you're being compared to are on the attached 2 pages, so you can see who you're up against. But that's how the average is created. And like Wiley said, your fund balance available as a percentage of your general fund expenditures, including power bill, is 53.29%. The statewide average for units your size is 98.78%. You can see your cash at the very top line, your cash compared to units your size, which you're above the statewide average for that. Your property tax collection rate is 89.15%. The state average for units your size is 98.56%. Your tax rate, or our tax rate over here, is 0.556. The statewide average tax rate for units this size is 0.3177. And there's just some other information here for you, so you can not have to have 4 financial statement booklets out in front of you, you can just do it all on 1 page. And that is all I have. I know you're tired. I will point out that next year you do have to account for accrued vacation pay a different way. You do have to look at subscriptions every year. We determined it will be immaterial this year, but it may be immaterial next year. And then just, really look at your budget. Any questions?
Any questions for council? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denise.
Next we'll have, discuss, animal control ordinance, town of Waysboro.
Hi. My name is Chris Morton, and I think I have met with
What's your-
this room.
Hold on, ma'am.
You guys, can I give them?
No,
No, ma'am.
This is ordinance, your ordinance.
Yeah, ma'am, we're well aware of that. There's no
Thank you.
public,
No public comment.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
That's fine.
There's no public comment.
There's no public comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Mayor and member of council, we've had, a lot of issues with the dogs, running, I guess, loose in the town. It's been I guess, an ongoing issue for years. The town, has agreement with, the county for animal control, through 2020, 2028, that the county is supposed to be doing the animal control for the town. Yes, we have an ordinance. The ordinance is pretty much verbatim what the state Durham statute says, which was enacted in 1989, which talks about all kinds of animals, birds, coyotes, and exotic animals. So we're in the process of looking at our ordinance and looking at better ways to enforce it. We're going to partner with the county to help us get the dogs, the packs of dogs are a problem in the town. And again, it's been an ongoing problem. We've had an officer bit responding to these calls for service for a dog. We've had several issues that relates to dogs in the community. So we're actually trying to get a hold of this issue. It's been ongoing, and it just didn't happen in 2025. It's been going on for years, many years, right? And some of the officers who've been here, they can attest to that. So we're working actively trying to look at the ordinance to see how it better fits town of Wadesboro. We cannot afford, as a small town, to field a animal control department. We have 19 officers. We don't have the funds. We don't have the resources to do that. And most counties in North Carolina rely on the counties to do animal control, not small cities. So that's what we are doing. We certainly want the public's input. We're trying to get a handle on this. We just had an incident this past weekend where we had a dog go into Tractor Supply with a chain inside the store. Police were called, 4 officers came. The dog was nice, a pit bull. They got the dog, and we were told to take the dog to animal control. We contacted animal control, they were closed. So then we had to do something with the dog, right? So we are doing everything we can to enforce this issue. We've cited owners who've had dogs who are loose, running wild. And again, these are packs of dogs that have been running wild for years, right? So we just want to work with the county and work with the citizens to resolve this issue. And we're going to resolve it, right? We're looking at the ordinance and see how it better fits our resources. We do not have the resources to have a officer just solely for animal control, a vehicle, and all that comes along with it. And there's liability attached with it as well, right? So we don't, yes ma'am, so we do not want to, we don't have the resources to do that. So I'm working with the town attorney. We're looking at the ordinance in ways that we can better serve our citizens, right? I'm getting calls. I went out last Thursday. A citizen came to my office very upset that dogs were, I guess, trying to attack him or his neighbor, and they were on Lee Street, and it was 617, 609, 609 block.
Street from me, Jason Riggs.
Yeah. So he came to my office.
We're trying to track now.
Yeah, so when he came to my office, I went out myself with the police chief looking for the dogs, right? We couldn't find them, and that's when we went to go visit the animal shelter. I'd never been there to see what it was, what it was like. So we are actually trying to resolve this issue, right? So I would ask for patience, right? This problem just didn't start when I got here.
No, sir.
This problem has been going on for years,
Yes, sir.
many years, right? We're going to address it.
Yeah, may I just ask one question?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, by the ordinance, all the dogs in the city should be tagged, they should have a chip,
Absolutely.
okay? So the town is given a chip identifier
Yes, ma'am.
which looks like this.
Yes, ma'am.
But you guys, it seems to be lost.
So,
Excuse me,
go
sir.
ahead.
Did you want us, as the animal shelter, I and Chris Morton, which is Friends of Anson County Animal
Okay,
Shelter.
hi, Chris.
We do the fundraisers, we do helping
Okay.
when the county doesn't have the money to help the animals. Now, my husband was Punky Morton, and we used to do the 911 through electronics. So I understand what your 911 is going through when you get all these thousands of calls. I totally understand that. So we, as Friends of Anson County, we as the animal shelter are trying our best to try to get this under control. And if we don't have your help or your guidance, which we need, and I see Mr. Snuggs, I mentioned many years ago, this is what we need. We need help. So, and I know you need help, so we're trying to see how we can work as a team to get this settled, because animals are being killed, and my biggest fear is a pack of them is 3 or more. If they attack a child in Anson Town, it's big, big trouble.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm scared of.
Ma'am, thank you for coming. I really appreciate that. Yes, I need your help. Absolutely, I need your help. Because the bottom line is this is out of control,
Do
right?
you need us to order one? So all you do is scan it. If the dog gets chipped, it puts a number there. You go to Marines, you can find out who owns it, and we can arrest them, or fine them, or do something.
And absolutely,
Anybody can put the chip number in, it's a database.
It's a database.
And once it's done,
Right.
once there are repeated offenders, some teeth need to be put into it in the district attorney's office. Make those people accountable, fine them, or put them in jail.
Absolutely.
Because it
Absolutely.
is.
So we're looking for the 2 chip readers, because Ms. Moraine told me that we had 2.
Yes.
We're looking for those.
In a box just like this.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so, ma'am, after the meeting, if you would stay, please.
I
I'll
will
get your
stay,
information.
yeah.
We need all the help that we can get,
It-
because this is a community problem,
It
right?
is.
When did you give those to the town, man?
They were given 4 years ago.
Yes, when Thaddeus was here, it was right
Okay.
after it was right after these ordinances right there went into place with
Yes, ma'am.
Alex Sewell and
Yeah.
Megan Garner, that's when they were put in place.
Yes.
And I've been up here to talk to you guys before about, registering pets. Mr. Snuggs was here the last time I came and spoke with Chief Spencer and, Coach Davis. And Coach Davis, that was before bait shops opened, and Coach Davis was recommending for, Mr. Snuggs to open bait shops. The last time I came and spoke to the board about ordinances and about how pets need to be registered. I mean, this is probably my 6th time here, but I'm one person. I mean, Mr. Bates knows I've been here over and over again. You guys know I've been here, have you not? I've been trying to do this.
So if we could,
I went on the council at the time that you made your statement.
the bottom line though, we need to have accountability, and Chipper is absolutely correct, Mr. Long's absolutely correct. We didn't have an ordinance that holds people accountable, that when these dog owners are negligent, they need to be held accountable.
You're right.
Absolutely. So, and that's what we wanna do, this ordinance will do that. If we gotta attach it to your water bill, if you don't, register your dogs, we would do some
Can we pass
enforcement.
this? This is a pet licensing for municipalities.
Yes, I'll take it, yes, ma'am.
It sends out, everybody's pets will be registered via microchip.
Thank you.
If
Yes.
they're registered via microchip, that means they've been vaccinated for rabies
Yeah,
vaccine.
okay.
That will put out a fee to
And-
everybody
and-
in the town and the county.
If they haven't been spayed or neutered, if we're taxing them, we tax them at a higher rate. If
Okay.
they've got their rabies and they've been spayed and neutered and can be proven,
Correct.
like it's $5. If it's not, it's $50 or
Yeah,
something.
because usually people that are unwilling to fix their pets are usually breeding them, which then they're selling them, which
They're
they're
selling
making
them, yeah.
illegal revenue, whether it's at Mount Croggan Flea Market or however they're selling them. So I mean, if they're selling their pets, then of course they can pay a higher tax
Absolutely.
rate than everybody else.
And we,
Absolutely.
sir, I'm so sorry, but we also have the problem, there are places in Anson County that you've got 30 to 60 wild cats just going crazy everywhere.
Wow.
We try to catch them, they bring them to Marine, we take them and get them fixed with the Friends money, which is not part of the county. So we're trying to keep it under control, but there is no control.
Well,
So that's why we're coming to you.
let's agree to work
It's
together.
in the town.
Yeah, you're right, it's in the town. I've got 16 cats at the town shop. I know about the cats.
So you
right?
know.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we form a committee to work together?
Absolutely.
An ad hoc
Yes.
committee
To work with
that
the
we can
shelter.
work with the shelter, the
And the
county,
friends.
and here. We're trying to trap those animals now. I've got a trap on my next door neighbor's porch. And we've been trapping cats and raccoons for the past few days. The two animals in question
Well,
are right
go in
across the
there.
street from my house. They've been in my yard. They run from my yard through Gail Lidecker's. They run back down 2 East Way behind Leak Little's, and they cross the street back to Jason's, and they head back over
So
to
they're
Michael
also,
Horn's.
they're
Well, they're
also,
like you, you've got.
they're also up at Anna Baucom's
Yeah.
house. I saw
So-
that.
Yeah.
We know.
Are these the two dogs that Mr. Risby was,
Yes, sir.
okay.
He did not answer me, but those are the two that he was
Yeah.
addressing, because they're all over the.
And that's what we went out looking for that
Do you
day.
know who they belong to?
No, but we think they're from West Avenue. I'm trying to ascertain the location. Go ahead.
Mr. Snuggs, the hardest
sorry,
thing in the
I'm out of
world
order.
is for someone to try to catch a dog. And we understand the police, when they go out and try to catch a dog, it's almost impossible if you do not have the harness and the leash.
And the proper training.
And the proper training,
That's
you cannot catch a dog because it's a lot faster and it will turn on you and tear you up in a heartbeat.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a dog catcher here?
No, ma'am.
Not yet, because we don't need to teach them that.
But we used to have one.
There's only 3 people working at the shelter, and
Okay.
it's overrun with animals. This
If-
lady here
I know
comes
Miss Maria.
constantly to get rescued because we're a non-kill shelter.
Ma'am, I don't want to interrupt you. If we could,
I'll say after.
no, you're fine. So if we could stay after and get your information, what we'll do at the next meeting, we'll have a public comment session. You guys can come and speak as well. We'll vote on a committee to address this.
Can you recognize when we're coming about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How do we protect ourselves?
Yeah, and that is the issue. Again, one of my officers already got bitten, right?
Well, I mean, it was a year and a half ago, I called Chip,
Yeah.
and 3 dogs at the time, came through my daughter's backyard. Now, it's fenced in 3 ways,
It's horrible.
and it killed 5 cats.
Oh my God.
And then 3 days ago, the same 2 dogs that we're talking about now killed another dog. I have 3 grandchildren that live there.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I mean, it's fenced in on 3 sides, but still the dogs are coming through and killing.
Here.
How do we protect ourselves?
We gotta get
legally?
we have to get these dogs off the street. We do.
Yes, sir.
Right,
That's
now
imperative.
what is our protection? What can we do on
Although-
the spot?
So technically, you're not supposed to discharge a firearm in the city limits, correct?
City limits,
So,
right.
let me
I
say,
was
if
told
I
we
say-
were told we could shoot. We were
So
told
listen, listen,
by the
listen.
police department. They
Listen.
came in our shop.
Okay.
Just real quick.
So if there is a wild dog coming at you, listen to me, okay? If there's a dog coming at you and your life is in danger, okay, we're not gonna tell you not to protect yourself.
Right.
I don't want everybody up in arms,
No,
but
no.
you know, what we're saying is, yes, call animal control, call the police, we understand, we don't have the capability to catch dogs. Okay, and if it comes at us, what are we gonna do?
You're gonna shoot
We're gonna
it.
shoot it, okay? Now, we're not saying take up arms and form an angry mob and go kill all the dogs. But if
Right,
your
right,
children are in danger, or you're in danger, and there's a dog coming after you, shoot it.
Okay,
And
The
that's,
same dogs charged my brother
Shoot
Friday
it.
night. We're 2 houses
and
down.
that's, and if somebody calls me from the county and they feel that they're threatened or their property is threatened, they are legally able to discharge
so-
their.
right, so we
If-
just wanna make sure that it's documented
Yes,
that
ma'am.
we are legally able to protect ourselves and our
I will
property.
say, call us and let us know
Oh,
what
yes.
happened,
Call the
right?
police.
Call
I
us.
would,
I think you
For
came to
incident.
the.
I did.
yes.
And I always tell everybody the same
Yes,
thing,
ma'am.
because we're not
But
going
how long
to
is the
catch
dog gonna
dogs.
wait for you to show up? That's the problem.
Well, I think it's just a matter of calling them and let them
To
know.
let us know what
Yeah,
you're
shoot
doing.
it, shoot it, and call. Shoot it, and
Well,
call.
if we could just agree to end this conversation on the fact that you stay after the meeting, ma'am. We'll get your information, come back to the April meeting. We will have, at that time, a discussion about a committee that we need to form, right? Because I am absolutely committed to getting this under control, and we're gonna do it. We are. So if you give me opportunity to do that, come back to the meeting, give your information. Let's work together, not separate. Let's work together as a town, county, and citizens to address the issue.
So you will contact the county and say, you were gonna work with us and help us get this under control.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we need,
Man.
is the two working together to help us. We need help.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Honestly, we've had conversations like this before in a year and a half, almost 2 years now, and nothing has been done.
You have my word.
Yes.
We've been working on it.
He has been working on it and staying tight with the whole situation, but nothing has really gotten.
The ordinance hasn't been under control.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at now, trying to get all this together, trying to look at the ordinance, trying to get the citizen input, trying to work with the county, trying to get everybody on the same team, on the same page, right? And we're gonna do that, right? So please, thank you for coming. Stay after the meeting, get my information, I'll give you my card.
I'll get your card.
Is there some kind of time frame that some of these dogs that are not registered or euthanized or something like that? Because even with the microchip, so I have a dog, my children have a dog. My dog is chipped, right?
Yeah.
So my dog will never come into a business establishment. Most dogs that are chipped, microchipped, are dogs that are fully aware of their home environment. The difficulty is gonna come when you're coming in contact with dogs that are not chipped.
That's right.
So if these dogs are not chipped, there's a possibility that these dogs are passing through. They could travel from Rockingham or wherever, God knows.
Dropped off, they get dropped off.
Well, and that's what we have to do, we have to determine where these dogs are. I was told that there have been folks who had lived in certain neighborhoods in Waysboro, had several dogs, moved, that the dog's there.
Yeah.
They leave them.
Leave the dog there. So it's unacceptable. So we gotta get a hold of this. So give us the opportunity to, man, you got my card.
I got you.
Yeah, let's work together and try to solve it. All right?
Man, one thing.
Yes, sir.
You're right. In 2010 to 2012, the town was actually supposed to hire a dog control officer.
Yes, sir.
So they were supposed to want to be already in place around about that
They
time.
quit.
And when you go to shooting dogs, I would be very cautious because there are some general statutes
Absolutely, absolutely.
on the book that will get you in some trouble because it's become a homeowner
Yes, sir.
versus you,
Right.
and the law is gonna shade towards that homeowner. I'd let the
That's
police
correct.
do it.
And we can't expect from Ms. Maureen, she is the director of the shelter. She's not responsible for enforcing the animal control in the town. She's
You
not.
gotta have one, so you gotta.
Right, exactly. So, and that's what we're trying to do. So give us the opportunity to click the ordinance, get together, we'll work with you, you got my number. We'll have a meeting, we'll form a committee, we'll get this taken care of, okay? Thank you for coming.
But is there a time frame that we can expect this group or whatever to be together?
We have a meeting on April the 7th, for, our April meeting. You come to that meeting. After that, we'll form a committee. We'll get the folks involved and we'll go to work. Okay, we're already working behind the scene right now with Mr. Bates to get the ordinance together, right? We gotta look at that first.
Right.
How that fits our resources here in Waysboro.
First thing we have to decide is, we're gonna be able to enter into a long-term contract with the county.
That's right.
As far as we're gonna have a little animal control officer with them. Okay, so we gotta get through that, and hopefully we'll be able to find somebody that can help with enforcement. And we're gonna, have to, the licensing, chipping, that sort of thing, is something we'll have to do in-house. Obviously, we're not putting that on.
Mr. Bates, you're gonna
So
have to-
we,
That's gonna be on us.
so we have been, for the last 2 years, I've been using grant money that I received to provide free microchips to Anson County residents. And I did it kind of sneakily, maybe moving forward to something like this. Because you have to sign a release, we have everybody's information, we microchip pets, all the information can be entered into the system. So I started providing free microchips, hoping that we could go to something like this, so we would get a handle on the amount of dogs that we have in Anson County. So, we've been providing microchips to people here, as long as they sign up through our Google Doc. You bring your dog up, we pop them with microchips, they get free rabies vaccines, they get free parvo distemper vaccines. We've been doing it for 2.5 years, zero cost to any Anson County residents. We even do residents from other counties, as long as they show up. I have a grant through Petco Foundation. I take the stipend from my Petco Foundation, buy chips from AKC Reunite. We provide them for free to residents of Anson County. We've been trying to do it for 2 years. It's not like I haven't been trying to do something, but I can't do it by myself.
Absolutely.
Let's work together.
One other question, please. As a business owner here, if a dog bites one of my customers, what happens? What is that customer's recourse? What is my, as a small business here, what is my recourse? Since the town is aware of the problem, they've done nothing about it for years.
Yeah. What I'd say, give us, yeah, that's a great question. We're working to try to get the ordinance together. I would say, obviously, I hope that doesn't happen, you know, that one of your customers.
The dogs charged my brother Friday at our fire.
Sir, I get that, I understand that, but again, we're trying to address the issue right now, right?
And I appreciate your doing that,
Yeah,
sir.
yes, sir. And so I hope that doesn't happen, but if we will definitely get an ordinance together that's enforceable and that's viable, that we can go out and take care of this problem.
Thank you.
But we gotta work with everybody.
I agree.
Right? So I thank you for the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we're gonna discuss fiscal year 2025, 2026 budget.
Thank you all for coming in reference to the dog issue. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Please stick around.
You said April 7th?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming back.
We're gonna take a little 5-minute recess. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess, please. We'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank
I
you.
have to run her home and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay. I started pitching buns, and once Mike, he was over there, he was out. So we brought him back, and he was okay, and then Mike was giving him some water, taking the bowl, and the dog went out on the things, and another kind of bite, and instead of kept going for his neck, he ate the piece of meat. So we called, and the police came, and it was possibly the whole wrong thing. Come find out that because we had yeah, and that's what it did. And then we tried to work a little bit and kept it in a kennel, 8 by 8. That's the issue. Okay.
That's right. I'm good.
That's right. Hey, how you doing, sir? How you doing? How you doing? Good, good.
There you go.
Oh, you don't leave any time? Well, I'm saying, when they call you,
Not my new one.
are you gonna share it with? The woman that has all the balloons. They gotta pick up the balloons. She's got
What up? Good to see you. I'll see you Thursday, right? If you can. That's a good thing. You rest, you rest. I need to bring the form. We gotta get fire occupancy written off for ABC license. So can I bring you that form? I need you and you both. I need to go to Rodney.
So what I'll do is I'll get, the manager here, type up a letter.
That's good. That's good. I'd rather be cleaner like that. I gotta get you there, or Rodney. I saw him the other day.
Hey Scott.
Yes, sir.
They're coming, man. That's gonna go over.
I'll be around. I make coffee. I need to know. I'm not gonna speak tomorrow, but I'm leaving.
Hugh, I'm gonna have to get an occupancy thing from you tomorrow or sometime. I gotta fill out for the ABC board. And it's got to be zoning or something, or some zoning. I'll need to, if not tomorrow, Wednesday.
Hey, how you doing?
This is one of our suspects. Bye, Danielle.
Bye.
Thank you.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
We just take easy down.
Oh, great.
Where is it? Yeah, I tell them it's fine.
Get back that way.
Tell them it's fine.
Mr. James, you doing all right? Man, I'm doing great, man. I've been going in the middle of all my I'm just being
We're gonna reconvene with the, discussion of fiscal year 2025, 2026 budget.
Okay. So since we last met, Wiley and I have been working on the budget, and we've made some changes based on the meeting and what you directed us to do. So what you have in front of us, in front of you, is a budget that appropriates $243,259 of fund balance, which is considerably less than what has been appropriated previously. Highlights to that budget is the projected property tax increase, a projected increase in tax collection. I might have to revisit that based on what Danielle said. I do know that we've been getting quite a bit from the county. I just got back today from vacation, so I haven't had time to look at where we are as of today, because while I was gone, we got almost $500,000 from the county. So I will revisit that projected increase in tax collection, because I did budget based on last year's tax roll, because that's all I have, a slight increase in tax collection. And as Danielle stated, I can't do that unless it happens. So, I will take a look at that. Projected increase to our refuge collection revenue, that is based on the fee schedule that is being proposed, and a projection of 125 new customers. We have over
239 customers that we supply water for, but we don't supply garbage collection for. So if we can capture 125 of those customers, that'd be great.
So I felt like 125 customers was a reasonable projection. Of course, you know, the budget is fluid, and, you know, if it doesn't come to fruition, then it'll, you know, we'll just change it. In addition, we are increasing the water sewer allocation that the general fund receives. And, of course, part of the revenue budget is the fund balance allocation, and we're projecting a decrease in that allocation. For expenditures, we moved forward with the 3% raise that you all authorized at the last budget meeting. I initially budgeted for an increase in health insurance. I have since changed that. I budgeted for the same dollar amount that we are currently being charged, and the reason why I didn't change it is the league is no longer going to be, can you speak to that? Am I saying that right? Okay. The league is no longer going to be offering the insurance that we currently have. Before we even found that out, we started moving forward with getting proposals from other agencies, because I went to a conference last month and discovered that there's much lower premiums that we could be paying. So we have started investigating into that. So I don't wanna lower the premium. I'm not comfortable with that, but I'm not gonna increase it right now.
And right now, we're in the process of vetting, a lot of different, healthcare companies to provide this service for us. North Carolina, like Maureen said, provides healthcare, for small towns and small cities throughout the state. Well, this year, as of June 30th, they will no longer be providing that service. So we are in the process of trying to find a provider to provide healthcare for our employees. And we're hopefully that we'll be able to get it at a lower rate.
In addition, in the budget for expenditures, we were notified of an increase in retirement rates. I've only been here, this is my 3rd year in North Carolina, and every year they've increased, so that's not a surprise. You authorized us in the administration department of the town that we can get a grant writer. So the new grant writer position has been included. The youth program, I think Wiley spoke to that at the last budget meeting. We have budgeted for the People Fest. We have budgeted for consulting services for the compensation study and the policy revisions. And lastly, we budgeted, 2 lieutenant positions were up for discussion, and it was decided by council that we could budget for 1 lieutenant position. And finally, the 911 dispatches with the MOU with the county. For the water sewer, projected increase to our interest based on the investments that we have. And same 3% increase for the employees, no increase for health insurance, projected increase to retirement rates. Hugh put in $200,000 for the lead testing that is being required that we have to do, and an increase for the general fund allocation from the water sewer. So that's the big ticket items that I'm highlighting in the memo. Does anybody have any questions? Any additional items that you want added, taken out, increased?
I got a couple comments. One, the new grant writer position will help us to better monitor our projects. We have a lot of money in grants that come in, particularly infrastructure. So this person will be able to help us to monitor our spending on those grants, as well as our other projects. We've got 5 projects right now sitting idle since, one was since 2014, right? With money in it, just sitting there, right? And nothing done with it. So that is going to stop. So we're going to have this person be able to complete several tasks as relates to grant writing and also monitoring projects. What else? The consulting services for compensation study. So our policies were last revised in 1996, and the law has changed. And so by law, we have to change these policies as it relates to human resources, as it relates to compensation studies. And so we're consulting with a firm to do that, and that would bring us up to speed in reference to the labor laws and everything that's attached to human resources. So that's why we are putting that in the budget. And it just, quite frankly, needs to be revised. 1996 is antiquated, it's old. A lot of things are not relative now to what's going on now. So we're gonna address that. The police lieutenant position, we initially wanted 2, but we settled for 1. Again, folks, we are doing everything we can to be fiscally responsible, to be very lean. When I got here, we had several challenges that faced us. When we hired a finance officer, she's done a phenomenal job in getting this budget under control in terms of the one we're in now and also FY 25 and 26. So we're going to continue that. We're going to continue to be fiscally responsible and make sure that the taxpayers are getting certainly what they deserve. And that is oversight, right? And that's what this board should also be really excited about that. There's gonna be oversight. Everything we do, we watch like a hawk, and they'll tell you that, all right? So, this budget represents that. I think it's a budget that we made some compromises with. It is definitely, we still had, challenges to overcome. We lost wage meal. We have to get a business in here as it relates to the old Walmart site. We have to get some, just some funding sources to come in here, because our revenue, is nowhere near where our expenditures are, right? We're like this, and this is expenditures, this is revenue, right? So we gotta kind of even that up a little bit. So, this budget represents that. So with that, any council members have any questions for us, for staff? We're happy to.
Cross your fingers and say a prayer, because there's some people in town right now looking to reopen them. So just keep your fingers crossed.
Praise God, good, that's good.
I'm
That's
sorry,
good.
I didn't hear that one.
We've got some people looking at reopening the mill,
Awesome.
here, so
Good.
just keep your fingers crossed and say a prayer.
Good, good. And there's been a lot of, I attend the monthly Anson County Economic Development meeting, and there has been a lot of interest in Anson County. Cause folks, whether you believe it or not, it's coming. The wave is coming this way, right? Yes, absolutely. So we gotta be ready when it comes. So, and we've been contacted by some folks that were looking at some developments, the McDonald's development. We've been contacted about the, other, housing sources. So, yeah. So
That's affordable housing. He came
Yes.
before us, a while back, his presentation.
Yes, yes.
They're getting some of that allocation.
Yeah. So all that is welcome here in the town of Waysboro. So any more questions for me?
And I would like to also, share with you that, if Wiley and I are good to move forward with this budget, a new, budget, I would say document, is what will be given to you, for the proposed, budget for the first public hearing. It'll be in book form, it will be, more informative, it will be, graphic, graphs and such, easy to read document for, the citizens. And, one of the goals that Wiley and I have is to make this document, readable and understanding for the citizens, put it in the library, so if somebody wants it, we'll put it on the website. And, so when I present this to you in May, I'd like your feedback on changes or, additions that you would like to see.
Thank you.
No.
Man, right quick, I know you probably talked, how much it cost for that grant writer?
The grant writer position, I think we're estimated somewhere between 65, a little higher than that. What was it?
Yeah, benefits and.
Oh, with benefits and everything? Yeah, we're talking about 75, 80,000. We're talking about the healthcare, maybe a little more.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be about.
The salary.
How much for that lieutenant we're not getting? And I'm gonna end it there, I'm just curious.
I think that position is right around 70.
Same, about the same salary.
About the same salary.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a grant writer and grant manager that's certified, and those government.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, USDA.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And
CSR.
And also that can monitor these federal and state projects. That's crucial, right?
That's the evaluation, that's how you get the money.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You
So,
have to have credibility.
so Ms. Sutherland, that's a regular question though, you're absolutely right, because, we have to have some accountability. What you're seeing is that in past year's budgets, that these projects have been gone unaccounted for, unmonitored. And we're losing money. We had one account where you're spending $6,500 a year in a checking account you're paying fees for.
But that was regulated to be in that account, so we had to pay that, but now things have changed and we moved it. So
Right.
Yeah, and we're losing money.
That, well, we're losing money based on the fact that that's the way that grant was written.
Exactly, exactly.
There was no misappropriation of money.
No.
Now we can do better.
Right, absolutely, because there was no oversight. If you had oversight, you just, yeah, right, you could have caught it, right?
But
So,
I mean, looking to the budget, there was no oversight, there was no mismanagement of money.
No.
We're right where we should be. Now we got to do better.
that's true. You gotta do better, sir.
And
Absolutely.
most importantly, back in September, I brought Wiley 7 or 8 grants that I found. There was no time to do it because I had just found them and the applications were due. We're not grant writers. And that was 7 grants that possibly we could have received a lot of funding for. So I think,
We're looking at all that.
yep.
You gotta look at grants.gov now, they've got simple grants.gov, which has simplified the search process tremendously. And SAMSA, you can look on there, just make sure that you have all the numbers you need.
Yep, I'm registered on SAM.gov and all those different websites, yep. Any more questions?
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Say just a couple of comments, please, adjourn. Well, thank you first off for coming in. Yesterday, had a little shooting on Cherry Church Street, about 3:34